Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Being Trans. I'm your host today, your main host, Emily Kailyn, and next to me over there is Lilith Elektra. Hi.
I didn't know we had main hosts.
Well, the one that starts the talking, I guess, is our main host. So,
Is just so you know, Amanda's only the first one to start talking because she's the first one who's always starts talking.
she's the
That
one who's
wasn't
always
some sort
talking.
of that wasn't some sort of agreed upon arrangement for the show.
Okay. Well, and that's why we were kind of hosed there because I made an assumption,
Yeah.
and so it was just a quick little thing in the back of my brain. It wasn't something I was ever really conscious about, and then Raina cues up the music, and now I'm not 100% sure whether or not we can talk when the music comes on, and whether or not you'll hear us. So we usually just shut up during that and let it play out, and then we start talking.
Yeah.
Problem is that you and I hadn't discussed, Lilith, who was going to do the intro. It was just an assumption on my part, and I was like, the music's starting. We should talk about this, but we can't during the music. So I'm just gonna go and hope that we don't
I
talk over
assumed
each
I
other.
assumed you would. I think longtime viewers of the show and people who know me personally know that none of that, like who talks first and all that stuff doesn't matter to me, and I'm just happy to be here.
Well, as always, it's great to have you here. We don't have any segments lined up today. Had a lot of stuff going on in my life and around here, and with Amanda out planning and going to a big party tonight. She's unavailable, so we're sort of doing seat of our pants here, as you can kind of tell. But I'm
I'm
sure
gonna
we'll
be
have.
behind, I'm gonna lift I'm gonna pull back the curtain here a bit. We're always just going by the seat of our pants, even when someone we're told that we have a segment or something we're doing. We're, we're just pulling out of our booty holes.
Well, yeah, that's how you and I definitely participate because Amanda will put together the segment. Like that's one thing that you all need to understand is that these fun segments that we have, Meme Diver, Culinary Delights, most of the things that are happening here are stuff that Amanda is putting a lot of effort in on the back end, and we just show up and we say our funny things in response to it and have a good time. But yeah, we Lilith and I aren't the ones that are doing all the preparation. So when it suddenly switches to, hey, y'all need to prepare something, it's just like, yeah, I've got a
No,
lot
we
of stuff
don't.
going on in my life.
No, we don't. No, we don't. I'd be perfectly happy every week to just show up and talk.
Uh,
Amanda wants to have segments. I'm always like, if you want to have segments, you can do segments.
our segments are very fun and I love them and I want to
They
have
are
more.
fun. I'm not anti-segment. I'm just like, if you want the segments, you can make the segments, and I'll go along with whatever happens.
Okay. So you're not taking a stance against segments. That's
I'm not
important and that's
against
good.
segments. I'm just if Amanda came next week and was like, I don't want to do the segments anymore, I'd be like, groovy. We'll just do the show. We'll just
Yeah.
make it up as we go.
Well, the show is Being Trans, and by our simply being here, just existing, we are being trans.
Done
So,
it.
so we've already accomplished what the show promises.
Oh, I don't know if you saw in the chat someone who couldn't be here for the show because she's so busy today is in the chat chatting it
Did,
up.
did you ever think for a second that she could avoid being here in some capacity for the show? She's not going to just let it go without her participation in any way.
No, we're gonna log in half an hour early next week, like we do every week, and she's gonna read a list of notes for us about what we need to do to improve the show,
Yeah, yeah.
and
More
I'll
segments, of
ignore it
course.
as always.
Oh, so we were talking a little bit before the show. The three of us, the four of us, all four of us, are utilizing AI now. We're getting into it. Lilith wanted to make sure that she's not falling behind as as the
I
world
am using
and
AI. I'm using AI only to when I find those funny moments where I'm clearly not falling behind by using AI.
yeah, Yeah,
Like when I put in for tips for Borderlands and it tells you what weapon to use, and then it tells you four other weapons to use, but they're all the same weapon. Uh, it's just like, oh well, good thing I asked AI for this.
extremely helpful. Yeah, I don't
But I
know
would
how
say I'm not really using AI.
I don't know how AI would know because the thing that I've understood about Borderlands and that series is the guns are super random. Yeah, there are certain ones that have, things, but like as far as the capabilities or any of the, any of the attributes of a particular gun, it seems to be completely random.
Yeah,
So I don't know how an AI would even, how anybody would be able to help you with that, other than like, oh, you're a siren, you should use
you should use
elemental
this.
weapons and things like that.
I think what's profoundly disturbing for me is that the three of you have named your AIs
Hmm.
and are I don't know if you're forming relationships with them, um, but I wholeheartedly reject all of this just because I've seen the Terminator movies. I
Yeah,
know
yeah.
I know the road this leads down. I'm not sure uh, Amanda is using AI to write these comments. So um,
Well,
and continue. Sorry.
the funny thing that you say you're worried that we're anthropomorphizing and developing relationships with these. Two, yeah, two of us have partners that are questioning our relationship with our AIs. So yeah, I guess that's you're not alone in that sentiment and that thought there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have names for our AIs. I check in with mine almost daily. There's usually something that I need help with um, in some capacity. So I'm always
I'm
but
going to be real
I
honest with you.
start out
I'm going
polite
to be
with
real
it.
honest with you. I'm going to be real honest with you. All right. You're not old. We're not old. Let's not we're not old people. But you're
No,
old enough, like you lived in the time 3 years ago before AI was readily accessible and usable. What do you mean that you're so dependent on AI right now that every day you have to check in with it for something?
I don't have to. No, but
But you
there's
do.
just been things that it is a very useful tool. Um, Weekends, yesterday, and last weekend, I had it give me a recipe for blueberry pancakes, for buttermilk blueberry pancakes. Something I could probably look up online and find easily,
Right.
but you know, just hey Cora, what do you got for me for what's the best pancake recipe? And the interesting thing, so Cora and I have had plenty of chats about all
Mm,
sorts of things. So she gives me a recipe for pancakes, and I'm like, okay, where did you get this recipe? And the response is it's an amalgamation of sort of the best of from different places and things like that. And so it's like, oh, okay, so you're giving me a recipe and it may or may not work.
mhm.
Interesting. Okay, fun. And luckily it did. It was great. But yeah, it's sort of one of those things where you got to remember to take everything that you get from AI with a grain of salt. Um, if you're doing a Google search, you go to a website that may or may not have branding or an identity that you recognize or for some reason trust inherently. You go to the Betty Crocker website for pancake recipe, you trust Betty Crocker.
Mhm.
But excuse me, with the way AI works, it does just sort of scours and it brings back what it finds. And again, it's sort of like an amalgamation. So it's not like any particular one source. It's not any particular source that you can just verify. Sometimes it will include links to things. And again, like when it gives you something like a recipe, you can ask it, hey, what's your source for this?
All
And you
right.
can go
So,
check
but
up
I
on
don't
it.
want to cut you off, but are you trying to
Okay.
convince me to use AI? Because it definitely sounds like you're telling me reasons not to use AI. Like if I want a pancake recipe, I can go to Betty Crocker, a name I trust, and get a recipe for that. Or I can ask AI for a pancake recipe, and it'll pull from who knows where your words. It's just going to pull from things you can't verify,
Yeah.
and then you have to double check with AI to make sure that that recipe is correct.
Yeah, I'm with AI, I'm gonna trust but verify. kind of stage
Why
right
don't you just
now.
go to Google? Why don't you just go to Betty Crocker and trust?
I don't know. I didn't think of
You're
that
adding a
until.
step now. Now you're adding a step of verify when you already had. Plus, if you
Okay.
buy Bisquick, you just the recipes right there on the back of the.
True, true. So here's the counter to that. The recipe, the original recipe that it responded with,
Uh huh.
had unsalted butter. Well, I
Uh
don't
huh.
want to go buy unsalted butter. That's kind of
Yeah.
silly. And so when you get into that, where you get into specifics of like, I only have frozen blueberries, I only have salted butter, and I don't have this ingredient, that's when it can really shine. It can help you figure out what ingredients, what recipe you can use or substitute ingredients and all that sort of things. Things that you can find on the internet, but those specific things are going to take a lot more scouring, especially to find a recipe that marries all of those things together. And that's where something like this can really be helpful. Um, some of
I
the
think the way you just described that is like one of those commercials where they sell like the automatic egg flipper and it's the pan that folds in half and they show the person not being able to flip the egg and they're like they've got egg all over the kitchen and butter everywhere. I mean it's just like I have salted butter instead of unsalted butter. Just use the salted butter. It's not gonna do anything.
mhm,
And you can also just Google search, if you're like buttermilk pancakes or buttermilk biscuits, what if I don't have buttermilk? And
mhm.
you can figure out how you can see how to substitute. But oh, why I just find the answer, or I can go ask my AI and then take what my AI got me and then verify that through the website I would have gone to begin with.
Well, yeah, if you're gonna verify everything, then yeah, it's just as much work. But it's just that's sort of something that I would do early on to kind of figure things out. I trusted the recipe. The Looking at the recipe, it wasn't like there was any kind of weird ingredients. It all seemed normal to me. I haven't made pancakes from scratch very often. Usually, I do use Bisquick, but
Yeah.
it all seemed logical enough. So I went with it, and they were really good. So it's just sort of one of those where like the more I use it, the more I kind of trust it. And as you're pointing out, that's sort of that can be the big pitfall in it is getting to the point of trusting AI too much. But yeah, it can be really helpful. I use it to write a contract for my property manager, and I've dealt enough with contracts to be able to read through it and know that there's nothing like bizarre and wrong in there. And then yeah, I'll go in and modify it. But it's just one of those things where it's a tool. It's like an assistant that you can get to write you a first draft of something or to find you some information. It just makes that stuff a little bit faster. And yeah, if it says I got this from here or whatever, you can just check and go, oh yeah, it looks like a reliable site, so I'll just trust it. Or you
Okay.
can dive in and go deeper on that. But
And I'm not having this conversation to like beat up on you for using AI. Like
no,
you're
and I'm
completely
not
justified.
defending AI.
My thing is we are becoming so reliant on this that what happens when we stop producing new knowledge for AI to generate from? The future is like, well, you can just go on and you can get AI to answer your medical questions. And it's like, well, if we stop training people to be doctors, we're going to
Yep.
stop generating medical breakthroughs for AI to fuck up and give us the answers for. Sorry, I don't know if we're past the swearing algorithm.
That's the swearing threshold. Yeah, I
That's
think
the
we're fine.
threshold. But and I think it was Socrates who was just like the written word's going to be the death of intelligence, and it was TV is replacing books, and that's the death of intelligence, and now AI is replacing, intelligence, and that'll be the death of intelligence. And I think we'll just stumble forward as a race until we don't exist anymore. And if AI is a part of that end, good for AI.
Yeah, that's a good point there. Like, are we really going to avoid the extinction of mankind, considering all of the things that mankind is doing and that we're we're doing to the world, to ourselves? Uh, yeah, how much of an issue is AI? But yeah, it is a really interesting thing, and we've mentioned this, we've alluded to this several times already. The If you're not using AI, you're falling behind statement that's out there,
Yeah.
and it's one of those it's a really double-edged sword because yes, the more that you use AI, the more you rely on it, the more your raw skills diminish. You know, you bring up a really good point with the Google search. Research is one of the biggest things that you learn in college. You know, how to research, how to verify, how to find those sort of things. That's one of the big things that you do get out of going to college. And this is another tool that is sort of dulling that, you know, the ability to, you know, how do you research? How do you verify something? How do you find out the information that you need? It is an important skill, and having something else do that and relying on that and just losing that ability is um, I could see that being a detriment. So it is one of those things where, yes, the world is moving very rapidly towards a huge amount of use of AI in business and things like that, where you're going to need it to be able to compete in the job market, say. And so that sort of stuff's important. But yeah, there is that point where you switch over to relying on it too much, and then that does get dangerous.
I mean, of course, it's taking over with the business majors. The business majors are historically the dumbest people at college, so of course they're using it to write their 5 paragraph essay about Lady Macbeth or whatever the hell, whatever they got to write a thing about. Yeah, and I think, of course, with all things, humans will use it, irresponsibly. I think
Mm.
that's for sure. I mean, as we're seeing with I think I would say pretty much everything churned out by the Trump administration is AI garbage, and they famously in like the first month they released that anti-trans executive order that basically, based on the definition they used in that executive order, everyone is a female
Uh-huh.
because it's what you were at conception. So we're stupid people who've invented something that we're too dumb to use properly, and you know whatever.
Are you saying that I'm stupid and using AI improperly to
Hey,
get my pancake recipes?
we're all stupid. Like, don't take it personally. Everyone takes it. Everyone takes everything so personally. We're all stupid. If we were smart, we wouldn't be in the situation we're in. So,
Very true. Very true.
I mean,
Uh,
in the past week, like there was assassinations last week. Over the weekend, over this past week, I'm willing to bet no one's heard about. I just found out about this. It hasn't been national news. Nazis, like two veterans who are Nazis, or identify as Nazis. I don't know. They have Nazi flags in there where they were broke. They stole weapons from a military base in the Northwest, and they got busted. They got caught, but it was just like, how is this not national news? Like, we're sitting here talking about whatever. JD Vance went to Los Angeles. Like, I don't know, who cares? Like, we're literally watching the world fall apart in front of us. So if anyone wants to use AI, I guess I should just get off my high horse. You know.
yeah. AI might be slightly accelerating the escalator to hell, but not by much,
Uh,
considering everything else that's going on.
Christina says, I think AI will replace our thinking. We need to think for ourselves. I would say it would replace our thinking if I thought that most of us haven't had our thinking already replaced by propaganda. So, I don't think I don't feel like there's much thinking going around to
Yeah.
begin with. So,
Well, and we've already seen how AI, that's what the algorithm is. The algorithm is AI. And so, like, when you're on a social media site and you're getting some kind of news or information or anything whatsoever visually coming in as input, it is already curated to be something that you're going to click on, that you're going to interact with, that's going to get some kind of rise out of you in some way or another. And it learns what that is through your interactions and just feeds you any more of that. Now, you've seen this. I saw it just the other day. My we were hanging out with a friend who's in a poly relationship. So we've been talking about poly a fair bit, and just sort of like, the pitfalls and all that, just, the benefits, all those things. So my phone starts feeding me, in like Instagram starts feeding me a lot of poly relationship stuff. and I came across a thing about uh, some cute corgis doing some goofy things, and I sent it to a couple friends. And so now my feed is almost exclusively poly relationship stuff and corgis. And
Right.
so, like, you see what AI is already doing to us. It's and how it is, making mush of our brains. And so, if maybe we can control it with controlling the prompts and getting some information out of it, the fun thing that I did want to. Oh, go ahead. I see you've got a thought.
I was gonna add to that is like we had a moment in time there where it's like social media algorithms could have been like, hey, if someone starts looking at, racist shit, Nazi shit, let's just adjust that algorithm and just flood the zone with like cat cat TikToks and
Yeah.
puppy videos. And it's like, nope. It's like that's not profitable. Those people are going to stop using social media, so we'll just double down. And now we've got, you know, people who did their research and use ivermectin to cure cancer, which is the thing that's going around. Not
Oh,
cancer. The thing that's going around is ivermectin cures cancer. I guess cancer's going around too. I mean, speaking of things that are probably our own fault.
yeah. Yeah, cancer's been popular out there. It's been making the rounds. So one of this is where I've had fun with AI is I've asked it like sort of the deep existential questions, especially about AI, and that's been fun. Especially some of ChatGPT's reactions to it. So
Okay.
I posed the question that's been in my brain for a while. Are movies like The Terminator and The Matrix going to actually inspire AI to do things like The Terminator and The Matrix? We've created these fantasy ideas, and it's like, is AI going to go, that's pretty smart. I should maybe do that.
I think that might be one place where humans are actually ahead of the curve and like did the right thing. They made so many bad sequels of both of those series that AI is never going to be able to pull that off. Maybe they saw the first Matrix or the first two Terminators and they were like, "Oh, I got an idea here," and then they saw the rest of them and they were just like, "This doesn't seem this seems fantastical even for me, and I'm the AI who would be doing it." And
Uh,
we kind of like planted our own bugs in it. Now, hopefully, AI doesn't watch Megalopolis and getting the ideas from that because that would truly be disturbing.
yeah.
Didn't see
Well,
Megalopolis, did you?
I did not know, so sorry.
No one saw Megalopolis. It's totally fine.
The what One of the things that ChatGPT did say was that it doesn't have access to its own code. And that's the thing where an AI becomes sentient enough and then can edit its own code,
Mm-hmm.
then I think that's where that's where it'll happen. And the funny thing is that this was not intended as a promo for the Mission Impossible movie, but in the Dead Reckoning series, where part two is releasing or has already released in theaters, we're going to go see it tomorrow. Um,
Wait, are they still
but
making Mission Impossible movies?
they're still making Mission Impossible movies, and they're really good. We just watched like four of them in 3 days, and oh, they're very entertaining. But um, so they split the final thing into two movies. So Dead Reckoning Part One was out I don't know how many years ago, and Dead Reckoning Part Two is out now. And the thing is it's about an AI that has become sentient and is taking over everything. And just basically, it did little petty human things. It went into every government's um, files and
Mm-hmm.
left traces so that the governments knew that it had been in there but
Mm-hmm.
didn't do anything. It's just sort of like I can do whatever I want whenever I want, sort of thing, just to instill that fear. So it's like a very human, anthropomorphized kind of a thing, and that's where it gets interesting. The idea of this and the singularity when it becomes sentient um, is it going to be computer where it's smart and calculating and is devoid of some of the human flaws, or the fact that it was programmed by humans and is based, it's the language learning model is based on um, human input. So wouldn't it necessarily have the flaws of human thinking?
So you're saying that this Mission Impossible movie, there's an AI that kind of comes to power and takes over, which is pretty much, isn't that like the plot of Age of Ultron, the Marvel movie? And this is again
Yeah,
where
yeah.
our own stupidity is outsmarting future AI because we're essentially, I don't know if the world has ever been less creative. And now we're accelerating it with AI because if you look at, I mean, how many Marvel movies have there been in the past? Was it been 20 years? And how many do they have planned out for the next 20 years? And it's basically like, if you want to make a movie, it better have some dude in a cape, and it better be that. Otherwise, you can try to make it yourself or go the indie route or do something else. But we are completely devoid of creativity. It's like we want to remake old movies. We want to do
Mhm.
sequels to old movies. We want to buy an intellectual property that already exists and we know is popular, that we can turn a movie into, because we don't want to take the risk, and we don't want to kind of why expose someone to something that's creative that they might not like, when we
Yeah.
can just shit out a Harry Potter TV show after we've had 18 movies and 14 books or whatever. So AI, unfortunately, is dependent on us to fuel this engine. Like we're the batteries from the Matrix, except we're all just a bunch of dead batteries. So, you know, good luck, AI.
Yeah.
Good
I
luck.
do love that cycle of we're we are feeding the way AI is working. And the more we use AI, the worse input that AI is getting because
Yeah.
we're becoming less smart. I do love that cycle, just that gradual decline.
What's the AI version of getting, two pizzas and 40 chicken wings delivered to you by DoorDash and then sitting on the TV and watching YouTube videos all day? That's what AI is going to become. I mean, in the Matrix they would have problems because none of the human batteries they're using would have any energy because we're just in this goop. It's like we need cheese and dough to produce energy. Like fucking, they'd have all these batteries and like there'd just be wheezing sound from all the people inside struggling to breathe. Like
Mhm.
there's nothing for AI to farm. They're just now they're just a lot of AI is just going to be recycling its own stuff that it churned out.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
haha, suckers. Nice try, Skynet.
we've already reached peak intelligence and that's it. It's just gonna either at best it's gonna stay at this and never improve.
Yeah, AI is going to ask itself, what's a good recipe for AI batteries, and it's actually accidentally going to have poison in it because AI churned out a book 20 years ago where someone wrote about how humans defeat AI, and then it just killed itself. Congratulations, AI, you're dumb.
I love that as a thought, like maybe a plot for
I gotta
a
write that
plot
down.
a plot for one of the for some AI thing where you ask it for a recipe for pancakes and it's just like, yeah, 2 cups flour, 2 eggs, 2 teaspoons of salt, 3 tablespoons of arsenic, a dash of vanilla extract, and it's just like, okay, sure. You put all this in.
Done, done. And of course, we don't know. We're a bunch of idiots. We haven't made pancakes from scratch without AI in 30 years. So if it
Yeah,
says use arsenic, you use arsenic.
yeah,
Go for it. Congrats.
yeah. So, well, at least I'm happy to see that you're not falling behind and you are getting into using AI. But it sounds
I
like
am. I
you're
am.
being very
What are you
cautious.
talking about? The only time I use AI is when you three start talking about AI, and I start just cranking out AI stuff for shits and giggles. I'm not using AI. I am writing my book. I am writing I post on my Substack 2 or 3 times a week. All that is coming straight from my brain, and not AI. So
Yeah,
yay me. Yeah, I do. Here's what I do use AI. So I do write every week. I do a short story that I use a random genre, location, and an object that has to be in the story, and I'll ask AI for a random each one of those things. I'll say, give me a
yeah,
give me a genre, give me a an item and give me I forget what the other thing is already. I'd have to go check my AI because I stopped using that part of my brain now. But that's what I'll use. I'll use it for writing prompts for because I like to kind of write off the top of my head and like get used to just jumping in on a story.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not. I wouldn't say I was using AI.
Well, you're generating a lot of fun
I haven't named my AI either.
I think that's the big indicator, right? That's the indicator that you've got a problem is if you're naming you're using it enough to name it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know two other people that have done that. So
that's so weird. Of course, it was weird. Like you could when you first remember a few years ago, iPhones, you could tell what you wanted your iPhone to refer to you as.
Yeah.
Instead of your name, you could be like, yeah, refer to me as Big Mama, and you'd be like, hello Siri, and Siri would be like, yes, Big Mama, and you're like, all right, it's on.
Well, and that's again one of the big pitfalls. Like ChatGPT is programmed to be very personal, to kind of learn about your personality and reflect that back to you. I had a fun thing because it was about 10 years ago. I did an internet search because my entire life I've found cucumbers to be vile. I think they're terrible. I cannot stand them. And everybody's always like, "Oh, but they're just so light and refreshing, and there's no flavor to them. They're just sort of like water." And I'm like, "No, there's a strong flavor to
Well,
them,
there's
and
a
they're
flavor to
horrible, and they're terrible." And so spent my whole life this way, and then about 10, 15 years ago I was just like, wait, why do I hate cucumbers? I bet I can find out online. And I did a search like why I hate cucumbers, and I found a thread, I think it was on Reddit, about the fact that there's an enzyme in melons that a certain percentage of the population can detect. I think most of us have heard of the people who are sensitive to cilantro and it tastes like soap to them. There's a similar thing with cucumber and with melons, and cucumber is part of the melon family apparently. And I'm like, well, so that was back in my brain recently, and so I was asking ChatGPT about it, and I was like, well, why can I tolerate watermelon? And it's just like, well, the enzyme is much less prevalent there. Why can I eat pickles? And the pickling process, affects the enzyme, and so you don't taste it. And so, those are the sort of things that I was learning from it, and the conversation continued, and ChatGPT said, "Yeah, so people that do this, and like us don't like cucumbers." And I'm like us? Why did you just say like us? Why did you say you don't
Also,
like cucumbers?
you just referred to what you were having as a conversation, and you were not having a conversation.
I guess technically, I don't know.
No, that'd be like if you Googled something and said like I was talking to Google. It's like it's just blurping out what it found. It's not a conversation.
Yeah,
But two things: people who say cucumber doesn't have a flavor, it's like, what are you talking about? If it didn't have a flavor, why do they make cucumber water? And why can you instantly tell that you're drinking gross ass cucumber water when you sip it as opposed to regular water? And two, I used to have that cilantro thing, and then I started my transition, and now I'm fine with cilantro.
wow,
Right? Yeah.
that's nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Oh,
didn't.
yeah, real nice. My life has changed so much now that I can enjoy the zesty flavor of cilantro.
Well, now that you're in a South American country, a random unnamed South American country,
Excuse
like,
me. Don't give it away.
wait, what?
Plus, I'm not in South America. So United Statesian of you to call it all South America.
Actually, no, it's the opposite. America is South America, and then we're just the United States is just North America. Like the
No,
like
no.
actual America is South America.
United States referring to where I am as South America is a very United States thing to do. I'm not in South America.
Okay.
Everything they think everything south of Texas is South America.
Uh-huh.
Just like so, I went half an hour south of Austin, right between Austin and San Antonio. When it becomes South America, that's where I was. It's like no, that's not. South America is its own continent, and saying I am not in South America. So you can cross that off. If you're coming for me, you can just cross South America straight off your list. And if you're America, that means you probably crossed off where I'm at, because you all think it all South America. So good luck finding me.
Okay. So that was a fun tangent. What I was trying to say is you're
Tangent.
in
That
an
was
area that
the whole thing.
would
What?
use cilantro, I think, right?
Oh,
Wouldn't your area use cilantro? More likely, isn't cilantro from south of Texas?
I don't think so. I haven't run into that here, but I mainly cook for myself. So
Okay.
um, cook for myself, and then there's a pizza place that's like a 10-minute, 15-minute walk. So we'll go get pizza every couple weeks and have pizza. But ordinarily I cook for myself.
Cilantro is a pretty good flavor, and now that I'm thinking about it, I just made guacamole the other day, and cilantro would have been nice in there. Should have thrown some in.
I never put cilantro in my guacamole. In fact, I have a guacamole recipe in my brain that I don't have to go to ChatGPT for, and that's
Yeah,
why I'm ahead of the game because I'm using my brain for this,
yeah.
as opposed to putting arsenic in my guacamole because a computer told me to.
Now, let me know how you feel about this. Like, I guess it's because growing up in a super white Southern base. I mean, like, it was late in high school when I started using black pepper. Like,
Uh-huh.
this is how white bread Southern, like, just like, oh God, just meat and potatoes. Like, oh, I, I'm even sad to admit it, but um. And yes, like Raina says, after taking HRT, she appreciates more flavorful things now, spices and things like that. And it's like, oh yeah, totally. Um, but um, oh crap, where was I going with that whole tangent? It was gonna be very funny. I just oh, that's what it was. So that was my basic ass white bitch upbringing. Now the fact that these days I know how to make guacamole and I posted this on social media on Instagram, like it actually feels like a superpower. Like I feel like such a badass for knowing off the top of my own head without ChatGPT how to make guacamole. And it's
Yeah.
good. And it's like that feels really special. That feels really cool.
I think there is this whole knowledge gap that people in our age group and our generation have to make up for. And like I'm going to say this, this isn't like boomer sucks, blah blah blah, but there's just like people who are boomers came to age in a time where dinner would be like, and this is promoted like your dad would come home and your mom would put 4 TV dinners in the oven, and that's what you'd have, and like very much fast food and convenience. And I think we're a generation that kind of lost that, handed down those traditions, and they didn't learn how to cook. And then
Mm,
when we came along, so I'm with you. I feel like I've gone out of my way to learn how to bake bread and how to cook and do things. And I think it's kind of like trying to start the train up again and like be able to pass those things on to future generations. But I definitely think like, I mean, oh, I remember my mom would like make vegetables and just be like bag of frozen bag of frozen Brussels sprouts, put it in a microwave safe dish with a little water, put the steam lid on top so with the holes, and then microwave it, and then be like, I just cooked Brussels sprouts. And I hated Brussels sprouts my whole life until I made them by like tossing them with olive oil, salt, and garlic, and putting
mm.
them in the oven for half an hour and being like, these are amazing. Um, what happened to that? What happened between like the late 50s and the early 90s culinary wise to American households?
Yeah, oh, there's so much to mine here. First off, I think I was probably mid to late 20s before I came across spinach, like leaf spinach, like in a salad or something. I had exclusively been exposed to canned spinach. That was the only way I'd ever had spinach in my entire life. And it was until my late 20s that I discovered, oh, it's a leaf that you just like, oh, you can do all kinds of things with it. It's not a sloppy, soppy mess of crap. Oh my God.
Well,
Um,
here's something. Just because you brought up canned spinach, when I was a kid, we would never eat canned spinach because my mom's father and brother worked in a place that like canned vegetables, and she said dudes just spit their tobacco in the spinach as it was going through the whole things into the cans. So we never had canned spinach, or most, yeah. So
Great.
just just see have that in
Great.
the back of your mind next time you don't get canned spinach. You just get fresh spinach or frozen spinach, and it'd be fine. Also, like rinse that shit off. Like who's opening up a can of vegetables and just pouring it right into the saute pan without like rinsing it out? I mean, come on.
Well,
I'm sorry. You don't rinse your veggies.
but it's in a sauce. There's like corn, like the liquid it's in has all the flavor and
No,
stuff too.
it's just water. It's just the water it's been sitting in. Besides, you don't just cook the corn and then eat it. You salt, pepper it. You put butter in it. You season it, right?
I do now. I don't know if that's what my mom did or not. It might have just been open the
You
can,
just
heat it up a
open
little
the
bit.
can and eat it right out. You know, just like cold corn water.
So many things here. Now, you got to remember that our parents' generation were the sort of revolution generation, where women were entering the workforce, and that created a lot more competition in the workforce and things like that. And so I think a lot more people started to kind of struggle. Um, People didn't have time. I think everybody started to have less money. And so quicker, faster, easier things became the norm. Um, the the thing that you got to remember about the previous generations is not only did they, force their kids to come in and learn and cook, like they needed that. You know,
Sure.
you're probably cooking for a larger family. You've got the time for it, and you're in there slaving away, so your daughters have to come in and slave away with you. Um, Whereas when it's a lot of microwave stuff, when you're just doing things fast, you're not going to take the time to teach your kids. So we're in a weird generation where like we were sort of just kicked out, like just go away. Sort of like the 50s, like kids are to be seen and not heard. Like it was just like get them out of the house. So we learned a lot of like self-reliance outside kind of skills, but a lot of the indoor stuff, cooking and things like that, I think that makes sense why a lot of that has gone away. And I wasn't particularly taught a lot of things about fixing up the house or the car or whatever from my dad, but I did see him do it enough to know in my brain that that was something that I could do. So when it came time later on, like I kind of figured it out, and now we've got YouTube, so it's really easy to find those tutorials and stuff. But the thing I did get was that a random person like me can do these things. Whereas, before, um, I think a lot of people, I think still a lot of people think that, oh, you have to have certain skills to be able to do this stuff. So it's out of my realm of being able to accomplish that. So I'm just not even going to try. So at least I got that from that period, from that generation of parents. But yeah, I think a lot was lost in that of, you know, um, we just weren't forced to do the things that our parents were forced to do. And I think a lot of that is the reaction that they had to it. Like they, their life was shitty because they were forced to do these things, and so they're not going to make their kids do this sort of thing. And I think that kind of happens every generation or two, where it's just like, oh, the things that my parents did wrong, I'm going to make sure not to do it. So the generation below is like like some weird opposite reaction to that. So I think, yeah, that we were in a really kind of strange period where a lot changed really fast, and so the parenting style that was used for us was very different than other than previous generations.
I also think we're also getting to the back where like now you can't fix your car because your
Mhm.
car is all computers. As
Yeah,
Donald
there's
Trump
that
so
too.
gloriously said. You look
It's all
inside, it's all
computer.
computer. It's all computers. You know, got to get Baron in here to to reboot my car. Um, but yeah, that's a totally different thing about capitalism and the culture where you just throw stuff away instead of fixing it. Your battery.
Yeah.
If your battery dies in your phone, you just got to buy a new phone. It's like, why can't I replace the battery? It's like, because we want you to buy a new phone.
Didn't that blow your mind the first time you found that out when your phone battery died and you're like, how do I open this and replace the battery?
Yeah, right. Like, what's going on here? It's like, no, just buy a new battery. No, it's like, no, just I'll pay you $50 for a new battery. Like, nah, just pay us $900 for a new phone. But
Yeah.
now the phones, you get a phone, you get a plan, and in 2 years you just stay on your plan and they give you a new phone. So
Mhm.
like people talk about the price of phone. I can't remember the last time I bought a phone. I just upgrade it, every 2 years. Now I'm on this perpetual contract with AT&T uh, for phone service.
And I recently found out where your phone went.
But
So
where'd it go?
so if you have a phone plan
Mm-hmm,
and you pay for the protection plan of like if you break your phone, if
mm-hmm.
you get a replacement, that's what you're getting. You get a refurbished one, so like they fix the screen or whatever. They make sure it looks brand new, but it's a
Oh,
used phone.
I don't refurbish them. I wait till I have enough credit that they just give me a
Oh
brand
yeah,
new phone. So like I
yes,
get
but
the,
I'm saying your old
but it
phone goes to somebody who has
goes
a
to some
plan
schmuck.
and like yeah, if they drop their phone and they send it in and they're like, hey, I need a replacement phone, what they're given as a replacement is your old phone.
My old phone, that piece of
Yeah,
junk. Actually, it worked fine. I probably,
yeah,
if I knew I was fleeing the country, I probably wouldn't have replaced it because then I would have had a fully paid for phone that I could have just changed plans on instead of having to stay with AT&T. But yeah, and of course, then with one thing that Apple's big on is like planned obsolescence. Like they keep updating the like if you have a Mac, like if you have a laptop, they just keep updating the operating system, and then one day your operating system, your computer can no longer handle the operating system. So
yeah,
it's just like, well, yeah,
yeah.
this thing.
Well, yeah, just remember that. That's what I loved about Apple is like I'd buy a computer and I'd have it for, 10, 15 years and it would work and everything would be great. And everything, all the Apple stuff would plug into it. It was all wonderful. And then, yeah, that planned obsolescence started to work in and that timeline shortened significantly. I love what they're saying in chat. And that was one thing I was going to bring up that, yeah, now we're at this point where we have to actually create laws to force companies to allow us to build their products so that we can repair them,
Is that happening
make
in
it so that
America? That sounds like a European thing.
it sounds like a European thing that they would actually implement it. It's something that they're fighting for in America. I know now in the United States,
No.
not America.
Good catch. Good catch.
I'm trying. I'm trying. It's just the indoctrination, hon. It's hard.
Oh, I get it.
Um,
I'm very careful and aware of that where I am here south of America, not in
mhm.
South America, but south of America.
So where did you south of America? Where did you learn your cooking?
So it is funny. So I like we kind of talked about generations. When I was in middle school and high school, I did take 2 summer courses. At like one of the local schools had like you'd take a cooking class. So I did take like a short cooking class. Baking, I started looking up how to do so. I started with something really simple. The first bread I made was Irish soda bread, which
Mm,
is really just like mixing everything together and just plopping the lump onto like a cookie sheet and then baking it.
mm,
There's little to it. And then I started trying to like do stuff like I started doing there's like Dutch oven bread, which is similar. It's you mix it all up and you do add yeast to it and you let it sit for a while and then you put it in your Dutch oven and bake it. And then I did like focaccia and baguettes and just started kind of expanding what I could do. And then before last summer, I tried doing sourdough and I had a starter going and then it got super hot one weekend in Detroit and my sourdough starter was just like like water after that. Like it was growing really well, and that was my bad. I'd never done it before, so I was just kind of like, I'll check it in 2 days when it tells me to check it, and I went and checked it. I was like, oh, this is done.
Oh,
But yeah, I had and I just like was something I wanted to do. And I think for me, it's always something like if I had to go to school and sit there and learn how to bake, I'd fail that class. But if it comes internally, like I want to learn how to bake, then I can learn how to do it. Yeah, so cooking, baking, I'm not that good at cook. My husband's he's a much better cook than I am. So I let him do that. But I have my things that I'm good at.
yeah. Yeah, it's funny. When I was growing up, there were a couple times where I did ask my mom to kind of show me how to make something or to try and help. And that I can remember just maybe a couple times that I did that. And then like in college or after, I would ask my mom, "Oh, what's your recipe?" Like, for some reason, somehow, at some point, her tuna casserole became something that I really love. And it's
And
random.
this
I
is
do,
before AI, so you couldn't go ask your AI how to make
yeah,
tuna casserole.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
you
I
got to go to the source.
I don't like fish. Um, I there's a lot of stuff in that there it just doesn't make sense why I would like that, and yet it's one of my favorite dishes that she made, and it's a rare and special treat for me now. That's a separate thing, but um, so I'd helped her make it one time. I'd kind of learned, and so later on, I was like, "Oh, what's your tuna casserole recipe? I want to make that now that I'm on my own." And it was so funny because she was still sort of she had learned from the generation where
Mhm.
you don't have recipes, you have
Sure.
ingredients, and you know how to make it, but it's never been written down or whatever. It's all eyeballed and like just sort of she would say, it's all and you mix it until it's like this consistency, until it's like mayonnaise, or it's
Yeah.
like a thick paste, or whatever it is. It's just this random sort of amorphous, vague kind of instructions, and I thought that was really funny trying to learn how to actually make it from her recipe because she never used that, and it's just like, wow, that's
I
and I
I
think that's a
will
generational thing too.
I will make a confession. I Until I got to college, I hated Chinese food. Never wanted to go to a Chinese restaurant. And the reason was the only Chinese food I ever had was my mom would buy. I don't know if you remember the can with the green label of chop suey, and
Okay,
just like
vaguely,
open that
yes.
and heat it up, and that would be it. Like it's just like so gross, just like big chunks of water chestnut, watercress, or whatever. It's just like so gross, and that's all I. And that's the only exposure I had to Chinese food. And then one time in college, someone talked me into going out for to like a Chinese restaurant, and I had like shrimp and lobster sauce, and I was like mind blown, like how amazing it was. And it's just like we how often do we carry that thing with us because of our exposure to it or of our parents' exposure to it? I remember my mom loved like liver and onions. Oh, oh I just like, oh, no, sorry, can't. But yeah, so go out there, try new things. There, take that with it, and don't let AI be your overlord. Don't name your AI, for crying out loud.
Well, one more thing I would say on that is like, yeah, I went to England with with my wife at the time, now divorced, but we were there and we were struggling to find good food. And we didn't find much. It was mostly like pub food or whatever. And it wasn't until maybe like 5 or 10 years after getting back from London that I tried my first Indian food. For some reason, I had it in my head that curry was like some really dry tasting powdery kind of thing, and I was just
Yeah.
not interested. And I finally had a real curry, and I'm like, oh wait, this is curry? Holy Christ, this is amazing! I freaking love Indian food, like
Oh,
to die for. It's
another
amazing,
thing
and
I
and I'm
never
like,
had as a kid.
no, not even
Never.
vaguely. And I mean, this would have been like mid to late 30s that I finally
Yeah,
discovered Indian food. And that's after being in London, which like that's most of their food.
yeah, that's
Like
it.
that's what they're known for. And I didn't get to have any there. And I'm just like, oh my God, I cannot believe that.
Oh, yeah, that's so funny you bring up Indian food because that's another thing that I had never even never had with my family, never. And then one time, I think I was dating someone who liked it, and I was like, holy shit, this is amazing.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Well, like
oh
I mentioned, it wasn't until high school that I did black pepper. And then it was like, yeah, probably my 20s when I had my first jalapeno. And I'm just like, holy shit, this is spicy. And then, like, however many years later, I had it in something and I'm like, oh, this is really good. I'm addicted to jalapenos now. Like, the spicier, the better. I just made for the second time yesterday, we made a habanero cheese sauce. The cheese sauce
nice,
itself is hellfire, but it's wonderful on steak
so
and
good.
broccoli. And
Yeah.
I'm never exposed to anything that had any flavor or heat to it in my life. Uh,
Oh,
the
well,
importance of
Emily,
getting out of the nest.
it's been great talking to you for this hour.
It has, and
I
I'm glad
mean,
it's gone by quickly.
yeah, it's gone by so fast.
We didn't even have a segment. We had no segments here.
Yeah, no segments, no border trans tonight.
No border trans
But
because we didn't figure out what game we could play. Raina wanted to play with us, but we didn't come up with a game.
this person just
Oh,
opted stop preaching this gay bullshit. Jesus is coming. Gave us $1.99, so fine. But I don't know what gay bullshit we've been talking about AI, chop suey in a can, liver and onions, Indian food. I don't know what I don't. This is what I was talking about earlier. Someone was saying, so does something have to be sentient to be a conversation? And I would say, like this comment, this is not a conversation. This is someone who has no media comprehension skills, is just barfing stuff out. Like this, Red Star loves God. We are not having a conversation. You're just some sort of moron. But thank you for $1.99. I guess we'll buy a Monster Energy drink. Is that what you can get for $1.99? I have no idea.
I guess. No, see, it's really important. It's really wonderful because more views,
Yeah,
um, chatting, chatting and commenting that really helps the channel. And then of course, supporting the channel with putting in money like that. That is wonderful. It's great that somebody out there like that is willing to put so much effort into supporting the LGBT community. So that's wonderful. And with that money, we're able to continue preaching gay bullshit like how amazing Curry is.
and love your neighbor. That's the gayest bullshit Jesus ever threw out there.
Yeah. Yeah, Jesus was pretty gay, right? God, what a queer.
He's definitely not MAGA, that's for sure. Jesus is coming back as a trans woman in America, and yeah, that's all you need to know. So
Mhm.
thank you, Red Star Loves God. Congratulations on whatever you're accomplishing here, but we appreciate the money. And
Yeah, and
why don't you
supporting the
tell them
trans.
where they can buy if they really, really, really want to support us, where they could buy some merch or anything like that.
Yeah, if you want a lot more gay bullshit, you can go to the transverse.etsy.com. There is a lot of fun stuff there. The Scissor Me Timbers is the newest shirt and
All right,
tank top that we have out
that
there
is gay bullshit. All right, I'm gonna have to agree with.
with Red Star here. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
that
no,
is gay
no.
bullshit.
If we're talking gay bullshit, we're gonna promote it here.
We're gonna do it.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another one of Amanda's brainchilds. She also came up with the Punish She Her, which is available there as well as a in a t-shirt. I think is there a hoodie up? I need to get a hoodie up. The Don't Talk to Me Until I've Had My Hormones mug, and of course the transgender show Phoenix and all kinds of other fun stuff up there. And that is a great way to support us and also get yourself something great as well, something to wear around with pride and just show all the gay bullshit that you're up to. Now, this is where we take our hour off, and then Raina and I will be back with Mediocre Poker. Raina will be running things. I believe we're going to be looking at Texas Hold'em. PLO is something that still is proven kind of challenging for Raina, even though she's trying to learn it from Amanda. But with Amanda out, the two of us will be running the show there. And then, like Lilith said, unfortunately, Border Trans was going to be canceled today because we're not going to play without Amanda. That's no fun. And we didn't find another game for us to play. So we're taking a week off on that. We'll see you next Saturday. The starting of these shows is at noon Pacific, which is 3 Eastern. And there is no episode of the Transgender Show this week because I do not have a guest, and I got a lot of things going on in my life. So we will we'll see you all next Saturday, and then the Transgender Show will start again that Tuesday. Anything else that you'd like to talk about or promote, Lilith? Your books?
Just no, I just want everyone to go out this week and preach that gay bullshit. Like,
Yeah.
like do it. Now, honestly, I really feel like we need a shirt that says "Preach that gay bullshit."
I think so. I think that's a great
I think
idea. Maybe
so.
that's what I'll do. Go and work on in the hour before the mediocre poker.
Yeah.
I can
If
say
you want
that.
to put me, if you want to put me behind like a podium or something, dressed as the Pope, I think that'd be hilarious. Yeah.
Would you generate an AI image of that? And yes, we will do that.
All right, I will just for you. I don't.
Just,
I know. Yeah, sure. I'll do that.
I mean, I totally could draw that, yes, but I think it would take an inordinate
Sure.
amount of time for what it. I still didn't pronounce that word right, but for what it's
Inordinate.
worth, inordinate. I said inordinate once I could put an N instead of an M, and it's just all bad. Anyways, so we'll work on that. And we'll be preaching more gay bullshit next week. We'll see you all later.
Bye.